Sarah Martinez wiped the sweat from her forehead as she finished her morning run along the beach in San Diego. The sun was just beginning to rise, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. At 28 years old, she had been out of active Navy SEAL duty for 2 years. But her body still carried the strength and agility that had made her one of the elite few women to complete the grueling training program. These days, Sarah worked as a security consultant for high-profile clients. It was a quieter life than her military service, but it paid well and allowed her to use her skills without the constant danger of overseas deployments. She had seen enough combat in Afghanistan and Syria to last a lifetime. Now she preferred helping wealthy business people and celebrities stay safe in their everyday lives. As she walked back to her small apartment, Sarah's phone buzzed. The caller ID showed Marcus Thompson, her former commanding officer who now ran a private security firm. She smiled as she answered the call. "Hey Marcus, what's going on?" "Sarah, I've got a job for you, big one. Are you available for a long-term assignment starting next week?" Sarah paused at her front door, fishing for her keys. "Depends on what it is. You know I don't do anything that might put innocent people at risk." "Nothing like that. It's protection detail for a tech executive. Amanda Chen, the CEO of Quantum Dynamics. They're working on some revolutionary computer technology, and she's been getting threats. The FBI is involved, but they want private security as well." Sarah unlocked her door and stepped inside her modest apartment. The walls were decorated with photos from her military service and a few commendations she had earned during her time as a SEAL. "What kind of threats?" "Death threats mostly. Someone doesn't want her company to release their new technology. The FBI thinks it might be corporate espionage, but they're taking it seriously. Amanda specifically asked for you." "She asked for me? How does she even know who I am?" Marcus chuckled. "Your reputation precedes you, Sarah. Word gets around about the woman who saved an entire Afghan village from a Taliban attack. Plus, I may have recommended you." Sarah sat down on her couch and considered the offer. She had been between jobs for a few weeks and was getting restless. The idea of protecting someone who was trying to make the world better through technology appealed to her. "Tell me more about Amanda Chen." "Brilliant woman, 35 years old, MIT graduate. She started Quantum Dynamics 5 years ago, and they're on the verge of a breakthrough that could revolutionize computing. The threat started about a month ago, right after they announced they were close to a major discovery." "What's the pay like?" $50,000 for a month-long assignment plus expenses. You'd be staying at her estate in Malibu, round-the-clock protection." Sarah whistled softly. It was good money, more than she usually made for protection work. "When do I start?" "Monday. I'll send you her file and the threat assessment reports." "Sarah, be careful with this one. My gut tells me these aren't just empty threats." After hanging up, Sarah spent the rest of the day researching Amanda Chen online. The woman was impressive. She had graduated from MIT at 22, worked for several major tech companies, and then started her own firm with a focus on quantum computing. The technology her company was developing could potentially break most current encryption methods, which would revolutionize cybersecurity forever. That evening, Sarah went to her local gun range to practice. She fired hundreds of rounds, keeping her skills sharp. The familiar weight of the pistol in her hands and the controlled breathing techniques brought back memories of her military training. She had always been a natural marksman, but it was the mental discipline that set her apart from other soldiers. As she drove home from the range, Sarah noticed a black sedan following her. She made several random turns and the car stayed behind her. Her training kicked in immediately. She pulled into a busy shopping center parking lot and parked near the entrance of a large store. The sedan drove past without stopping, but she caught a glimpse of the driver, a man in dark sunglasses with a baseball cap pulled low. Sarah made a mental note of the license plate and called Marcus when she got home. "I think I'm already being watched." "What do you mean?" She described the sedan and the driver. Marcus was quiet for a moment before responding. "I'll run the plate number." "Sarah, maybe you should start the assignment early. If they're already watching you, they know you're going to be protecting Amanda." "Agreed. I'll head to Malibu tomorrow instead of Monday." That night, Sarah packed her gear methodically. 2 pistols with extra ammunition, a knife, tactical clothing, surveillance equipment, and her laptop. She also packed a few personal items, including a photo of her SEAL team from her last deployment. 3 of the men in that photo hadn't made it home alive. As she lay in bed, Sarah thought about what she might be walking into. Corporate espionage was usually about stealing information, not murder. But if Amanda Chen's technology was as revolutionary as it sounded, there could be billions of dollars at stake. People had killed for much less. She fell asleep thinking about her training at the Naval Special Warfare Center. The instructors had drilled into every SEAL candidate that preparation and situational awareness were the keys to survival. Sarah had learned those lessons well during her years of active duty. The next morning, Sarah loaded her car and drove north toward Malibu. The coastal highway was beautiful, with the Pacific Ocean stretching endlessly to the west. But Sarah wasn't focused on the scenery. She was already in protection mode, scanning every car around her for potential threats. As she approached the address Marcus had given her, Sarah was impressed by Amanda Chen's estate. The house sat on a cliff overlooking the ocean, with high walls and a sophisticated security system. It was the kind of place that would be difficult to breach but not impossible for a determined attacker. Sarah pulled up to the gate and pressed the intercom button. A woman's voice answered almost immediately. "Ms. Martinez, I'm Amanda Chen. Thank you for coming early. Please drive up to the main house." As the gates opened, Sarah felt the familiar rush of adrenaline that came with starting a new mission. She had no idea that within days, she would need every skill she had learned as a Navy SEAL to keep both herself and Amanda Chen alive. Amanda Chen met Sarah at the front door of the sprawling Malibu estate. She was shorter than Sarah had expected, with long black hair and intelligent dark eyes behind stylish glasses. Despite her petite frame, there was an intensity about her that spoke of fierce determination and a brilliant intellect. "Ms. Martinez, I cannot tell you how relieved I am that you're here. Please call me Amanda." She gestured for Sarah to follow her inside. The house was stunning, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Modern art hung on the walls, and the furniture was sleek and expensive. But Sarah's trained eye immediately cataloged the security features: cameras, motion sensors, and reinforced glass. "Tell me about the threats," Sarah said, as they sat in Amanda's living room. Amanda handed her a manila folder. "It started 4 weeks ago. First, anonymous emails telling me to stop my research, then phone calls. Last week, someone broke into my office downtown, though nothing was stolen. The FBI agent handling my case thinks they were looking for research data." Sarah flipped through the folder, reading the printed emails and incident reports. The threats were specific and detailed, mentioning Amanda by name and describing her daily routines. "Whoever is doing this has been watching you for a while. They know too much about your personal life for this to be random. That's what scares me most. Yesterday I found this under my car windshield wiper." Amanda handed Sarah a photograph. Sarah examined the image. It showed Amanda leaving a coffee shop downtown, taken with a telephoto lens from across the street. On the back, someone had written in red ink, "Stop the project or stop breathing. From now on, you don't go anywhere alone," Sarah said firmly. "No coffee shops, no grocery stores, no meetings without me. I know it sounds extreme, but until we figure out who's behind this, we have to assume they're serious." Amanda nodded. "I understand. But Sarah, I cannot stop my work. We're so close to a breakthrough that will change everything. The quantum encryption we're developing could protect government communications, banking systems, medical records, everything that needs to be secure in the digital age. Tell me more about your company. Who has access to your research?" "Quantum Dynamics employs 23 people. All of them have been background checked extensively. The core research team is just 5 people, including myself. We work in a secure lab downtown with multiple levels of security clearance." Sarah made notes as Amanda spoke. "What about business rivals? Other companies working on similar technology?" "Several major corporations are racing to develop quantum computing applications. But our approach is unique. We've solved problems that others haven't even identified yet." Amanda paused, looking out at the ocean. "There's something else. 2 weeks ago, I was approached by a man claiming to represent foreign investors. He offered to buy my company for 10 times what it's worth." "Did you get his name?" "He called himself David Nash, but when I tried to research his background later, I couldn't find any information about him. It was like he didn't exist." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. In her military experience, people who didn't exist were usually intelligence operatives. Describe him. Tall, maybe 6 feet, brown hair, expensive suit. He spoke with a slight accent that I couldn't place. Prussian, maybe, or Eastern European. Amanda, I need you to think carefully. Could your technology be used for military purposes? Amanda was quiet for a long moment. Any encryption technology has military applications, but our primary focus is civilian cybersecurity. We want to protect people's privacy and financial information. That evening, Sarah did a complete security assessment of the property. The estate had good natural defenses, high walls, limited access points, and excellent visibility of the surrounding area. But she identified several weaknesses. The large windows facing the ocean could be vulnerable to sniper attack. The security cameras had blind spots near the service entrance, and the backup generator was located outside the main security perimeter. As Amanda worked in her home office, Sarah positioned herself where she could watch both the interior of the house and the grounds outside. She had learned during her military service that most attacks came when the target felt safest. Around midnight, Sarah noticed movement near the perimeter wall. She immediately switched off the interior lights and moved to a window with a better view. 2 figures dressed in black were scaling the wall near the service entrance, exactly where she had identified a camera blind spot. Sarah's training kicked in instantly. She grabbed her pistol and moved silently through the house to Amanda's office. "We have intruders," she whispered. "Stay low and follow me." "What? Are you sure?" "2 men just breached the perimeter. We need to get to your safe room now." Amanda's face went pale, but she followed Sarah's instructions without hesitation. They moved quickly but quietly to a hidden room behind Amanda's bedroom, a small fortified space with its own communication system and emergency supplies. "Call 911 and tell them we have armed intruders," Sarah instructed as she locked the safe room door behind them. "I'm going to try to intercept them before they reach this part of the house. You can't go out there alone. What if they have guns?" Sarah checked her weapon and spare ammunition. "Amanda, this is what I was trained for. Trust me." Through the safe room's security monitors, Sarah watched the 2 intruders moving methodically through the house. They were clearly professionals. They knew exactly where the cameras were and how to avoid most of them. One carried what looked like a laptop computer, while the other held a pistol with a silencer attached. Sarah used the house's internal communication system to create noise in different rooms, confusing the intruders about her location. She had learned in Afghanistan that psychological warfare could be just as effective as firepower. Moving through the house like a ghost, Sarah positioned herself in the main hallway, where the intruders would have to pass to reach Amanda's bedroom area. She controlled her breathing and waited, just as she had done during countless military operations. The first intruder appeared around the corner, moving cautiously with his weapon raised. Sarah struck with lightning speed, disarming him with a move that would have broken his wrist if she had applied full force. Instead, she knocked him unconscious with a precise strike to the side of his neck. The second intruder heard the brief struggle and came running. Sarah was ready for him. She used his momentum against him, throwing him over her shoulder and into the wall hard enough to stun him. Within 30 seconds, both intruders were down and disarmed. Sarah quickly searched them for identification, but found nothing except generic black clothing and untraceable weapons. These were professionals, which confirmed her worst fears about the level of threat Amanda was facing. Police sirens wailed in the distance as Sarah secured the unconscious intruders with zip ties from her gear bag. When the officers arrived, they found her calmly sitting in the living room with 2 men tied up at her feet. "I used to be a Navy SEAL," Sarah explained to the lead detective. "These men broke into my client's home with weapons and appeared to be searching for something specific." The detective looked impressed, but not entirely surprised. "Ms. Chen is lucky to have you protecting her. We've been investigating these threats for weeks, but this is the first time anyone has actually made a move against her." As the intruders were taken away in ambulances under police guard, Sarah realized that someone with serious resources and professional training was trying to stop Amanda's research. This was no longer just about corporate espionage. This was about something much bigger and much more dangerous. When the police finally left, Amanda emerged from the safe room looking shaken but grateful. "I can't believe that just happened," You saved my life." Sarah was already thinking about next steps. "Amanda, we need to move you to a more secure location. These weren't random criminals. They were trained operatives, and whoever sent them isn't going to give up just because we caught these two. Where can we go that would be safer than here?" Sarah looked out at the ocean, her mind racing through possibilities. "I have some ideas, but first we need to figure out exactly what they were after, and we need to find out who David Nash really is." The next morning brought disturbing news. FBI agent Patricia Wells arrived at Amanda's estate with information that made Sarah's blood run cold. "The two men you apprehended last night have diplomatic immunity," Agent Wells explained as they sat in Amanda's living room. "They're claiming to be cultural attachés from a small Eastern European country, but our intelligence suggests they're actually operatives from a foreign military intelligence service." Sarah leaned forward in her chair. "So they're just going to walk free?" "Unfortunately, yes, but this confirms what we suspected. Someone with significant government backing wants to stop Dr. Chen's research." Amanda wrapped her hands around her coffee cup, trying to steady herself. "I don't understand. My technology is meant to protect people's privacy and security. Why would a foreign government want to stop that?" Agent Wells and Sarah exchanged glances. Sarah had seen this scenario before during her military service. "Amanda, your quantum encryption technology could make current intelligence gathering methods obsolete. If governments can't break encryption, they can't spy on communications. But that's a good thing, isn't it? For law-abiding citizens, yes. But intelligence agencies depend on being able to intercept and decode communications from terrorist organizations, criminal networks, and hostile governments. Your technology could blind them completely." Agent Wells nodded grimly. "We believe the country behind these operatives makes significant money from cyber attacks and digital espionage. Your encryption could eliminate their primary source of intelligence and income." Amanda stood up and walked to the window overlooking the ocean. "So what are you saying? That I should abandon years of research because it threatens some criminal organization?" "No," Sarah said firmly. "But we need to be realistic about the level of danger you're facing. These people have unlimited resources, and they've already shown they're willing to use violence." Agent Wells pulled out a tablet and showed them satellite images. "We've identified at least 6 more foreign operatives who have entered the country in the past 2 weeks. All of them have backgrounds in military special operations or intelligence work." Sarah studied the photographs. The faces were unfamiliar, but she recognized the look. Cold, professional, dangerous. "They're planning something bigger than a simple break-in. Our analysts think they might try to kidnap Dr. Chen and force her to turn over her research. Or they might attempt to destroy her laboratory to set back the project by years." Amanda turned around from the window. "The laboratory. We have to protect it. All of my research is stored there, and my team is still working on the final implementation." Sarah was already thinking tactically. "How many people are in your lab on a typical day?" "Usually 8 to 10 people during business hours. The core team often works late into the evening." "That's too many potential hostages," Sarah said. "Agent Wells, can the FBI provide protection for the laboratory?" "We have 2 agents stationed there already, but our resources are limited. The Bureau is stretched thin, dealing with multiple national security threats." Sarah made a decision that she knew Amanda wouldn't like. "We need to temporarily shut down the laboratory and move your core research to a secure location." "Absolutely not. We're weeks away from completion. If we stop now, we might lose months of progress." Agent Wells leaned forward. "Dr. Chen, these people have already demonstrated they're willing to kill to stop your research. Your life is more important than any technology. You don't understand. This isn't just about my life. This technology could protect millions of people from identity theft, financial fraud, and government surveillance overreach. I have a responsibility to finish this work." Sarah recognized the determination in Amanda's voice. It was the same fierce commitment she had seen in fellow SEALs who refused to abandon their missions, despite overwhelming odds. "Okay, if you won't shut down the lab, then we need to make it into a fortress." Over the next several hours, Sarah worked with Agent Wells to develop a comprehensive security plan. They would move Amanda's most critical research data to multiple secure backup locations. The laboratory would be protected by a combination of FBI agents, private security contractors, and electronic surveillance systems. Amanda would travel between her home and the lab in an armored vehicle with a rotating schedule to prevent predictable patterns. That afternoon, Sarah accompanied Amanda to Quantum Dynamics headquarters in downtown Los Angeles. The building was a modern glass structure with impressive security features, but Sarah immediately identified vulnerabilities. Too many access points, large windows that could be breached, and a parking garage that would be difficult to secure. Amanda's core research team was a diverse group of brilliant scientists and engineers. Sarah briefed them on the security situation without causing panic, but she could see the fear in their eyes when she explained that their work had attracted the attention of foreign intelligence operatives. "Dr. Martinez," said Dr. James Kim, Amanda's lead engineer, "how serious is this threat?" Sarah chose her words carefully. "Serious enough that you should all consider taking a temporary leave of absence until we resolve the situation." "I'm not leaving," said Lisa Rodriguez, the team's cybersecurity specialist. "This technology is too important. If we stop now, someone else might develop it first and use it for the wrong purposes." One by one, each team member made the same choice. They would continue working despite the danger. Sarah felt a mixture of admiration and dread. These brilliant civilians had the courage to continue their mission, but they had no idea how deadly their enemies could be. As evening approached, Sarah noticed increased activity on the street outside the building. 3 different surveillance teams were watching the entrances, and she spotted at least 2 vehicles that had been parked in the area all day with occupants who never left. "Amanda, we need to leave now through the service entrance," Sarah said quietly, "but I wanted to review the latest test results with my team. The building is being watched by multiple hostile surveillance teams. If we don't leave immediately, we might not be able to leave at all." They gathered Amanda's essential research materials and moved quickly to the service elevator. Sarah had studied the building's layout and identified 3 potential escape routes. As they reached the parking garage, her worst fears were confirmed. 2 men in dark suits were positioned near the exit, trying to look casual but clearly waiting for something. Sarah recognized one of them from the FBI photographs Agent Wells had shown her. "Stay behind me and be ready to run," Sarah whispered as they approached her armored SUV. As soon as Sarah started the engine, the 2 men began walking purposefully toward their vehicle. Sarah floored the accelerator and drove straight at them, forcing them to dive out of the way. She executed a sharp turn and headed for the garage exit at high speed. In her rearview mirror, Sarah saw a black sedan pulling out to follow them. She took evasive action, using her knowledge of Los Angeles traffic patterns to lose their pursuers in the maze of downtown streets. "My God," Amanda breathed as Sarah finally confirmed they were no longer being followed. "This is really happening." "It's going to get worse before it gets better," Sarah said grimly. "But I promise you this, as long as I'm protecting you, no one is going to stop your work or hurt you or your team." That night, as Amanda worked on her research in the secure home office, Sarah established a perimeter defense around the estate. She had called in favors from her military contacts to obtain advanced surveillance equipment and additional weapons. The battle lines were now clearly drawn. On one side was a small team of scientists trying to protect the world's digital infrastructure. On the other side were professional operatives with unlimited resources and no moral constraints. Sarah had been in similar situations during her military service, but never with so much at stake. Amanda's technology really could change the world for the better, but only if Sarah could keep her alive long enough to complete it. As she patrolled the estate's perimeter in the darkness, Sarah felt the familiar calm that came before a major battle. Her enemies were skilled and dangerous, but they had made one critical mistake. They had underestimated what a Navy SEAL would do to protect an innocent person whose work could save millions of lives. The attack came at dawn, just as Sarah had predicted. She was monitoring the estate's perimeter from the security room when motion sensors detected multiple breaches along the northern wall. Through the infrared cameras, she counted 8 figures moving in coordinated formation toward the main house. These weren't the same amateur operatives from 2 nights ago. These men moved with military precision, using tactical hand signals and maintaining perfect spacing as they advanced. Sarah recognized the formation. It was a classic Special Forces assault pattern. "Amanda, wake up. We're under attack!" Sarah's voice echoed through the house's intercom system as she grabbed her weapons and tactical gear. Within seconds, the first explosions shook the house. The attackers were using shaped charges to breach the reinforced windows and doors. Sarah had anticipated this and had prepared accordingly. She activated the house's emergency lockdown system, sealing all entry points with steel barriers. But she knew the barriers would only buy them a few minutes. These operatives had come prepared for a prolonged assault. "Get to the safe room now," Sarah commanded as she moved through the house, checking her defensive positions. She had spent the previous day placing explosive devices and smoke grenades at strategic locations throughout the building. Amanda emerged from her bedroom, clutching a laptop computer containing her most important research data. "Sarah, there are too many of them. We should call for help." "Help is already on the way, but it won't arrive for at least 20 minutes. We have to hold them off until then." Through the security monitors, Sarah watched the attackers systematically breaching the house's defenses. They had brought military-grade equipment, thermal imaging devices, explosive charges, and assault rifles. Whoever had sent them was no longer concerned with keeping the operation covert. Sarah activated her first defensive measure. Smoke grenades hidden throughout the house began releasing thick, choking clouds that would limit the attackers' visibility. She had trained extensively in smoke-filled environments during her SEAL service, giving her a crucial advantage. The first attacker made it through the main entrance just as Sarah reached the living room. He was wearing night vision goggles and body armor, but Sarah's position gave her the element of surprise. She fired twice with surgical precision, hitting him in the exposed areas below his armor. He went down instantly. "One down, 7 to go," Sarah muttered as she moved to her next defensive position. The attackers adapted quickly to her tactics. 2 of them began providing covering fire while the others advanced through different parts of the house. Sarah could hear them communicating in what sounded like Russian, confirming her suspicions about their origin. She triggered her second defensive measure. Strategically placed explosive charges that brought down part of the house's interior structure, creating barriers and choke points that would force the attackers to move through predetermined areas where she had advantages. "Sarah," Amanda's voice crackled through the radio from the safe room. "The FBI just called. Their backup team is 15 minutes away." 15 minutes might as well have been 15 hours. Sarah knew she couldn't hold off 7 professional operators for that long using conventional tactics. She needed to take risks and use the full extent of her SEAL training. Moving through the smoke-filled house like a phantom, Sarah began hunting the hunters. She used her intimate knowledge of the building's layout to appear where the attackers didn't expect her, strike quickly, and then vanish before they could respond. The second attacker fell when Sarah emerged from a hidden passage behind him. She used her knife to avoid making noise that would alert his companions. Her military training had taught her that stealth could be more effective than firepower in close-quarters combat. But the remaining attackers were learning her tactics. They began moving in pairs and using grenades to flush her out of hiding spots. The house was taking tremendous damage, but Sarah's focus was absolute. She had one mission: keep Amanda alive until help arrived. The third and fourth attackers made a coordinated assault on the kitchen area where Sarah had taken position. She had prepared for this scenario by rigging the room's gas line to create a massive explosion when triggered remotely. The blast took out both attackers and created a wall of fire that would prevent the others from using that approach route. 4 down, 4 to go, Sarah counted as she moved to a new position. But the remaining attackers had finally located the safe room. Through the security monitors, Sarah watched them setting up explosives that would breach the reinforced door within minutes. Sarah made a desperate decision. She couldn't reach the safe room in time to stop them, but she could create a diversion that might save Amanda's life. She triggered every remaining explosive device in the house simultaneously. The massive coordinated explosion brought down most of the structure's interior walls and created chaos that scattered the attackers. Sarah used the confusion to sprint toward the safe room through smoke and debris. She arrived just as the attackers breached the safe room door. Amanda was pressed against the back wall, clutching her laptop and looking terrified but determined. 2 operatives were advancing toward her with weapons raised. Sarah didn't hesitate. She charged into the room and engaged both attackers in hand-to-hand combat. Her SEAL training had prepared her for exactly this scenario: close-quarters battle in confined spaces with civilian lives at stake. The first attacker was bigger and stronger than Sarah, but she used his size against him. She grabbed his weapon and used a leverage technique to throw him into the wall with enough force to knock him unconscious. The second attacker tried to grab Amanda as a human shield, but Sarah's reaction was faster. She struck him with a precise blow to the neck that dropped him instantly. "Are you hurt?" Sarah asked Amanda as she quickly searched the unconscious attackers for weapons and communication devices. I'm okay. But Sarah, look at what they brought. Amanda pointed to a device one of the attackers had been carrying. That's a military-grade data extraction tool. They weren't just trying to kidnap me. They were planning to steal all of my research data. Sarah examined the device. It was sophisticated equipment that could bypass most digital security systems. They wanted your technology, but they also wanted to make sure no one else could complete your work. The sound of helicopters approaching made them both look up. Through the hole in the safe room's ceiling, Sarah could see FBI tactical teams rappelling down ropes onto what remained of the estate. Stay here until I confirm it's safe, Sarah instructed as she moved cautiously out of the safe room. Agent Wells was among the first FBI agents to reach them. She surveyed the destruction with amazement. Jesus, Sarah, it looks like a war zone in here. It was a war zone. These weren't criminals or terrorists. They were military special forces operatives with orders to capture or kill Amanda and steal her research. As the FBI secured the scene and arrested the surviving attackers, Sarah helped Amanda gather what remained of her personal belongings. Most of the house was destroyed, but the safe room had protected both Amanda and her most critical research data. What happens now? Amanda asked as they watched the last of the ambulances carrying away the defeated attackers. Sarah looked at the ruins of the estate, then at Amanda's determined face. Now we find out who sent them, and we make sure they can't try this again. Agent Wells approached them with her phone in hand. I just got word from Washington. These operatives were carrying false diplomatic passports from 3 different countries. This operation had significant international backing, meaning Dr. Chen's technology has attracted attention at the highest levels of several foreign governments. This won't be the last attempt to stop her work. Sarah felt a familiar surge of determination. During her military service, she had learned that some battles were worth fighting regardless of the odds. Amanda's technology could protect innocent people around the world from digital attacks and surveillance overreach. Then, we'd better make sure the next attempt fails too, Sarah said, quietly. As they drove away from the destroyed estate, Amanda was already planning how to rebuild and continue her research. Sarah was planning how to keep her alive long enough to finish it. The real war was just beginning. The FBI safe house was a nondescript building in a quiet suburban neighborhood, but Sarah immediately identified its weaknesses. Too many windows, multiple entry points, and neighbors close enough to become collateral damage in an attack. After the assault on Amanda's estate, Sarah knew their enemies would escalate their tactics even further. This location won't work, Sarah told Agent Wells as they surveyed the property. We need somewhere more defensible. This is the most secure facility we have available on short notice, Agent Wells replied. The building has been reinforced and we'll have agents stationed around the perimeter. Sarah shook her head. The people we're dealing with just sent 8 military special forces operatives to capture 1 scientist. A few FBI agents aren't going to stop their next attempt. Amanda looked exhausted but determined as she set up her computer equipment in the safe house's main room. How long do you think we have before they try again? Not long. They know we've identified their operatives, so they'll want to move quickly before we learn more about their organization. Sarah's phone buzzed with a call from Marcus Thompson, her former commanding officer. She stepped outside to answer it. Sarah, I've been following the news reports about the attack. Are you and your client safe? For now. But Marcus, I need a favor, a big one. Name it. I need access to a military-grade secure facility where we can protect Amanda while she completes her research. Somewhere with proper defenses and trained personnel. Marcus was quiet for a moment. That's a tall order. You're talking about using military resources for a civilian protection mission. Amanda's technology could revolutionize cybersecurity for military communications. If it falls into the wrong hands, it could compromise every encrypted message our military sends. Let me make some calls. I might know someone who can help. 2 hours later, Marcus called back with surprising news. I spoke with Colonel Jennifer Hayes at Camp Pendleton. She's willing to provide temporary protection for your client under a national security exemption, but only if Dr. Chen agrees to share her research with military cybersecurity specialists. Sarah discussed the offer with Amanda and Agent Wells. It was a complicated decision. Amanda would have to trust the military with her most sensitive research, but it might be the only way to complete her work safely. I'll do it, Amanda decided. If my technology can help protect our military personnel, then I have a moral obligation to share it. The transfer to Camp Pendleton happened under heavy security. Sarah rode in an armored vehicle with Amanda, while a convoy of FBI agents provided escort. They took a circuitous route through Los Angeles, changing vehicles twice to ensure they weren't being followed. Colonel Hayes met them at the base entrance personally. She was a tall woman with graying hair and the bearing of someone who had seen combat. "Dr. Chen, welcome to Camp Pendleton. I understand you've developed technology that could revolutionize secure communications. Thank you for providing protection, Colonel. I know this is an unusual situation. These are unusual times. Follow me. I'll show you to your new laboratory." The military facility was impressive. The laboratory was located in an underground bunker with multiple levels of security. Armed guards controlled every access point, and the entire area was monitored by sophisticated surveillance systems. For the first time since the threats began, Sarah felt like Amanda might actually be safe. "This is perfect," Amanda said as she examined the laboratory equipment. "I can continue my research here while your cybersecurity team learns about the technology." Over the next 3 days, Amanda worked around the clock to complete her quantum encryption system. Sarah maintained her protective vigil, but she also helped coordinate with the military specialists who were studying Amanda's research methods. Major David Clark, the base's cybersecurity chief, was amazed by what he learned. "Dr. Chen, this technology is decades ahead of anything we currently use. With your quantum encryption, our communications would be completely unbreachable by any known method." But on the 4th day, Sarah's worst fears were realized. Agent Wells called with urgent news that made her blood run cold. "Sarah, we've identified the people behind the attacks on Dr. Chen. It's worse than we thought." "How much worse?" "The operation is being run by Viktor Kozlov, a former Russian intelligence operative who now works for a criminal organization that specializes in cyber warfare. Our sources indicate he has a team of at least 20 military contractors at his disposal." Sarah felt her stomach tighten. She had heard of Viktor Kozlov during her military service. He was known for being ruthless, intelligent, and completely without moral constraints. What's his connection to the attacks on Amanda? His organization makes billions of dollars from cyber attacks and digital espionage. Dr. Chen's technology would eliminate their primary source of income. They're willing to do anything to stop her research. "Are we safe here at the base?" Agent Wells hesitated. "Normally, yes. But we've received intelligence that Kozlov has acquired detailed blueprints of military facilities, including Camp Pendleton. He may know exactly where Dr. Chen is located." Sarah immediately went to find Colonel Hayes. She found her in the command center, studying satellite images and tactical reports. "Colonel, we may have a problem." "I know. We've been monitoring increased surveillance activity around the base perimeter. Someone is definitely planning something." Sarah studied the surveillance reports. The patterns were familiar, exactly the kind of reconnaissance she had seen before major military operations. "How many people are we dealing with?" "Our best estimate is 15 to 20 highly trained operatives. They've been observing our security procedures for the past 2 days. They're planning to attack a military base? That's an act of war." Colonel Hayes nodded grimly. "Viktor Kozlov doesn't seem to care about international law. Our intelligence suggests he's being paid enough money to consider the risk acceptable." Sarah realized they were facing an impossible situation. Even a well-defended military base couldn't withstand a sustained assault by 20 Special Forces operatives without significant casualties. And Amanda was so close to completing her research that stopping now would mean losing months of progress. "Colonel, I have an idea, but it's risky. I'm listening. What if we let them think they've succeeded? We could fake Amanda's death and the destruction of her research, then complete the work in absolute secrecy." Colonel Hayes considered the proposal. That would require elaborate deception and perfect timing. If Kozlov discovers the truth before we're finished, he'll come after Dr. Chen with even greater force. But if it works, we could complete the quantum encryption system and make it available to protect millions of people around the world. That evening, Sarah presented the plan to Amanda. They would stage a laboratory explosion that would appear to kill Amanda and destroy all of her research. Meanwhile, Amanda would continue working in a hidden location until the encryption system was complete. "It's dangerous," Sarah warned. "If Kozlov discovers we're still alive, he'll never stop hunting us." Amanda looked at her computer screen, where lines of complex code represented years of brilliant research. "Sarah, this technology could protect children from online predators, prevent identity theft, and stop foreign governments from spying on their citizens. I can't let one criminal organization destroy that possibility. Then we do this together. But once we start, there's no going back. As they finalized their plans, Sarah felt the familiar calm that came before a major mission. She had faced impossible odds before during her military service, but never with stakes this high. Amanda's technology really could change the world, but only if Sarah could keep her alive long enough to complete it. Outside the laboratory, Viktor Kozlov's operatives were moving into position for what they believed would be their final assault. They had no idea they were about to face a Navy SEAL who had no intention of letting them succeed. The staged explosion worked perfectly. At exactly midnight, controlled demolitions destroyed the laboratory at Camp Pendleton while Amanda and Sarah hid in a specially prepared bunker 2 miles away. To any observer, it appeared that Dr. Amanda Chen and her revolutionary quantum encryption research had been eliminated forever. Viktor Kozlov's operatives, watching from the perimeter, reported mission success to their commander. Within hours, international news outlets were broadcasting the tragic story of a brilliant scientist killed in a laboratory accident. Even the FBI publicly stated that Dr. Chen's research had been completely destroyed. But in the hidden bunker, Amanda continued working on the final implementation of her technology. Sarah maintained security while Colonel Hayes provided covert support through unofficial military channels. Only 3 people knew that Amanda Chen was still alive. For 2 weeks, Amanda worked 18-hour days to complete the quantum encryption system. The strain was enormous, but her determination never wavered. "We're so close, Sarah. Just a few more days and we'll have working prototype software that can be distributed worldwide." Sarah monitored intelligence reports about Viktor Kozlov's organization. The criminal network had celebrated their apparent victory and began planning new cyber warfare operations, believing that the threat to their business model had been eliminated. "They think they've won," Sarah reported to Amanda. "Kozlov has recalled most of his operatives and shifted resources to other projects." "Good. That means we can complete the work without interference." On the 16th day after their staged deaths, Amanda finally announced success. "It's finished. The quantum encryption system is complete and ready for deployment." Sarah looked at the computer screen displaying lines of complex code that represented years of brilliant research. This software can really protect people from cyber attacks. Not just protect them, it will make most current forms of digital espionage completely impossible. Communications encrypted with this system cannot be broken by any known method, including quantum computers. Colonel Hayes arrived at the bunker with a team of cybersecurity specialists to verify Amanda's claims. After extensive testing, their conclusion was unanimous. The technology worked exactly as promised. "Dr. Chen, this is the most significant advancement in cybersecurity in decades," Major Clark reported. "With this system, we can protect everything from military communications to civilian banking transactions." But their celebration was interrupted by urgent news from Agent Wells. "Sarah, we have a problem. One of Kozlov's lieutenants was captured in Europe, and under interrogation, he revealed that they have a spy inside the FBI, someone who knows you and Amanda are still alive." Sarah felt cold dread wash over her. "How much does this spy know?" "Everything. Location, security protocols, the fake death operation, all of it. Kozlov is already mobilizing a new assault team. How long do we have?" "Maybe 12 hours before they arrive." Sarah looked at Amanda, who was already copying her research data onto multiple secure drives. "We need to get this technology to safety and then deal with Kozlov permanently." Colonel Hayes coordinated an emergency evacuation plan. Amanda's quantum encryption software would be simultaneously transmitted to cybersecurity organizations around the world, making it impossible for Kozlov's network to suppress the technology by eliminating a single person or location. "Once we release this globally, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle," Amanda explained as she prepared the final data transmissions. "Every government, corporation, and individual will have access to unbreakable encryption. And Kozlov's criminal empire will lose billions in revenue," Sarah added. As Amanda initiated the global transmission, Sarah prepared for what she knew would be Kozlov's final desperate attempt to stop them. Intelligence reports indicated he was personally leading an assault team of his most skilled operatives. Sarah, Amanda said as the upload progress bars moved toward completion. "I want you to know that working with you has been the honor of my life. You've shown me what real courage looks like. The honor has been mine. Your technology is going to protect millions of innocent people." The attack came just as the global transmission reached 95% completion. Kozlov's team used military-grade explosives to breach the bunker's outer defenses. But Sarah was ready for them. She had spent the previous day preparing the bunker as a fortress, using every defensive technique she had learned during her SEAL training. Choke points, explosive surprises, and overlapping fields of fire turned the underground facility into a deadly maze for attackers. "Stay with the computer until the upload finishes," Sarah instructed Amanda. "No matter what happens to me, don't stop that transmission." The first wave of attackers met Sarah's defensive preparations with devastating results. Shaped charges collapsed tunnels behind them, cutting off their retreat routes. Smoke grenades filled corridors with choking clouds that favored the defender who knew the layout perfectly. Sarah moved through the bunker like an avenging angel, striking where the attackers least expected and disappearing before they could respond. Her SEAL training had prepared her for exactly this scenario, defending a critical position against overwhelming odds. Viktor Kozlov himself led the second wave of attackers. Sarah had studied his file and knew he was dangerous, a former Special Forces operative with decades of combat experience. But he had made one critical mistake. He had underestimated what a Navy SEAL would do to protect an innocent person, whose work could save lives. The final confrontation took place in the main laboratory as Amanda's transmission reached 99% completion. Kozlov emerged from the smoke with a pistol aimed at Amanda's head. "Dr. Martinez, you have fought admirably, but this ends now. My employers will pay me $50 million for Dr. Chen's death and the destruction of her research." Sarah stepped into view with her own weapon drawn. "Your employers are about to lose a lot more than $50 million. You cannot stop me. I have killed dozens of soldiers better trained than you." Sarah smiled grimly. "Maybe, but they weren't fighting for something worth dying for." The gunfight lasted only seconds, but it felt like an eternity. Sarah's SEAL training and years of combat experience gave her the advantage she needed. Kozlov was skilled, but Sarah was fighting to protect innocent lives around the world. When the smoke cleared, Viktor Kozlov lay motionless on the laboratory floor. Sarah had been wounded in the shoulder, but she was alive. "Upload complete," Amanda announced with tears streaming down her face. "The quantum encryption system is now available to cybersecurity organizations in 47 countries." Colonel Hayes and her security team arrived to find Sarah sitting against the wall, pressing a makeshift bandage to her wounded shoulder. Amanda was already fielding calls from scientists and government officials around the world who wanted to implement the new encryption technology. "Is it over?" Amanda asked as medics treated Sarah's wound. "Kozlov's organization will collapse within weeks," Agent Wells reported. "Without their leader and with their primary revenue source eliminated by your encryption technology, they won't be able to continue operations." Sarah watched Amanda fielding excited calls from researchers who were eager to use quantum encryption to protect everything from medical records to banking systems. "Your technology is going to change the world." "Our technology," Amanda corrected her. "None of this would have been possible without you." 6 months later, Amanda Chen's quantum encryption system had been implemented by major technology companies, government agencies, and cybersecurity firms worldwide. Cyber attacks that had previously been successful became impossible, protecting millions of people from identity theft, financial fraud, and privacy violations. Viktor Kozlov's criminal network had indeed collapsed just as Agent Wells predicted. Without their ability to break encryption and steal digital information, they lost their primary source of income and quickly disbanded. Amanda received the National Medal of Technology and Innovation for her groundbreaking work in cybersecurity. In her acceptance speech, she credited her success to the protection and inspiration provided by a former Navy SEAL who had shown her what it meant to fight for something bigger than yourself. Sarah returned to her work as a private security consultant, but she stayed in touch with Amanda and continued to advise on cybersecurity matters. She had proven once again that a Navy SEAL's greatest weapon wasn't superior firepower or advanced technology, it was the unshakable determination to protect innocent people and fight for what was right. The quantum encryption technology continued to evolve and spread, creating a safer digital world for everyone. And sometimes, late at night when Sarah was reflecting on her military service and civilian career, she smiled, knowing that she had helped protect not just one person's life, but the privacy and security of millions of people around the world. Amanda's courage in pursuing her research despite overwhelming danger had inspired Sarah to be the best version of herself. And Sarah's unwavering protection had given Amanda the safety she needed to complete work that would benefit humanity for generations to come.